Welcome to the displacement modifier. In this video you will use your displacement map to alter geometry. Realise that you need geometry in the first place to modify. Use the displacement in Blender Render, and then finally use the displacement modifier in the same manner. So let's hop straight on over into Blender. So back over in Blender, let's go ahead and apply this displacement map we've just made to the plane that we're using to generate it. So I'm going to, what have I got here? I've got both of them selected, so let's undo that move. Just want one of them selected. And there we go. So I've got the plane selected, I've just lifted it up and out of the way. So the first thing to look at is have a look at it using the Blender render settings. So first of all, what I'm going to do is quickly look at what it looks like in rendered mode. Okay, it's black at the moment. That means that we've not got any light falling on this object. The other one's invisible, which suggests it's not got an appropriate material applied, even though it's visible in the other view. So the lighting, I believe, was on layer 1. So if I go and turn layer 1 on as well, there we go, it's gone bright white. So something's going on there that's, well, it might actually be directly in line with the light, but I'm guessing all of these area lamps, even though we've got it set to portal mode on cycles, that doesn't exist on Blender Render. So it's probably got a shed load here, 8 area lamps plus a sun, which is probably going to white out anything we've got there. I'm going to create some geometry first before we go any further. So let's go ahead, hop it back into solid mode, and I could subdivide that as a demonstration, but instead of subdividing, I'm going to use the subsurface division modifier. Now, there is a couple of things I need to bear in mind when I do that. So I'm going to apply a subdivision surface modifier and whack it up. It only goes as high as 6, and that does produce quite a few triangles. That's something to remember for later on. Now we've got that there, I obviously don't want it being circular because that's going to cause us a problem. So let's make it square again, and we can do that if we hop into edit mode. We can see that it's selected, and because it's all selected, I can open up the properties panel and increase the edge data setting. I can increase the mean crease to 1 like we did on the pillar, and that makes it square again, even though it's got all the subdivisions in it. So I'm going to come out of edit mode for the moment, and the object needs a material applied to it. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to put in here temp material, because it is just that, it's a temp material. For some reason I've got a warp engraving A in the middle, material, this isn't going well, there we go, material. So now we need to apply a texture with that material. So I'm going to go, oh, is it already in here? No, it's not. So let's go ahead and create a new texture, or add a new texture, and select it from this drop down. There it is, brick texture displacement, and further down we have displace. So on the influence, we can have it influence the color, and in this case, if we switch to textured mode or material mode, still black at the moment, so we're going to have to do something. There is still something wrong with the lighting. Let's turn on that. No. We'll go and sort out the lighting in a few moments, but we want to play with the displacement one. And if we set that to rendered mode, we can see it is displacing there, which is great. And it looks like there's a bit of colour there as well, but this is definitely got too much lighting coming in. If I just turn these ones off here, aha, that looks much better. I don't know which direction the sun lamp is facing in. Let's go and grab the sun lamp, hop into solid mode. Where is the sun? Oh, it's not, doesn't even look like it's on this particular layer. It's on layer 2. If you notice, the sun is selected in the outliner, and it's on layer number 2 at the moment, which is no good. We want it on the lighting layer. In fact, I don't. I want it on a slightly different layer. I'm going to put it on layer 4. Of selected building components. Let's go to the sun, move it to layer 4. Now, why am I moving it to layer 4, I hear you ask? Well, because I don't want it with all of this other lighting. Now I can select layers 3 and 4 and have the Blender render lighting turned on. That's why the sun lamp exists in the first place. And we can see from, oh, not focused on the object itself, there we go. And yeah, you can see here it's starting, the light's coming in from this direction, so that'll do. We can see at least what's going on. Looks a bit odd it being dark at the top, the light's just coming in from a different angle. So we've got, I will rotate the sun round. I've just realised that I'm not going to be able to show you something if it's black. So let's go here and just rotate that round. Now selected, that's absolutely fine, we can work with that. So you can see as we look down on our object, let's focus on it again, it's doing exactly what we want it to do, and we can change this displacement. We can have it go negative if we want as well, so we can go minus 0.1 and it goes into the object, or we can do of course 1 and we end up with skyscrapers. So if you were making a city block, you could actually do the basic geometry, the basic buildings, just using a simple displacement map. Very powerful. Now, you'll realise in a few moments there are a couple of caveats when we're doing this. So at the moment, if we look directly down on our model, we can see that even with a subsurface division set, I'm just going to turn the colour influence off, even with a subsurface division of level 6, we're using 8,000 triangles, and that's an awful lot of polygons for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bricks. Unless you're really close to the brick wall, i.e. you're an ant in scope, this isn't going to be a very practical way of generating, well, it's certainly a practical way of generating geometry, but not usable geometry in the end. It's a good halfway point. Now that we've got that done there, what we can now do is approach it from a slightly different angle. We can use the displacement modifier, because what we see here is only affected when we're in the rendered mode of Blender Render. It doesn't affect the actual underlying geometry itself. It still needs geometry to do the alterations, otherwise all it does is move that plane up and down, but it doesn't actually change it in edit mode. Now if we go to the modifiers tab and we just add another modifier underneath the original subsurface, under deform we've got the 5th one down is displace. If we select displace, well, hey, there we go, it's jumped to some sort of random position up there. Now we don't want it to do that, so let's go down here. We've not applied texture, so I'm just going to minimize the subsurface. We've got the displacement here. We can apply these, of course. I don't want to do that at the moment, that will really solidify things. The texture, let's go see if we can pick it up. We can, because we just made it a texture in Blender Render over the other side. And if we apply that, we can see here that it's not quite right at the moment, and that's because the texture coordinates are just local. Now we've got global, that doesn't seem to do much difference. That's because the local and global texture coordinates are essentially the same when it's on the flat plane. Object is also going to be very similar. Now UV is what we want, and that will map it out in a similar manner. Now of course we can see that it's just like the other one, but now we can see the geometry without being in a rendered mode, and the strength will change how much it is extruded by, or displaced by in this case, and of course a value of something like 0.1 seems to be ideal. Now looking down on our model we can see, let's just switch it here, we can see that it's very jerky in places. It's going to cause us a few problems, and this isn't a problem of the image itself. If I go ahead and bring up that displacement image, you can see that these angles here are, you know, there is some sort of jaggedness to this edge, but it's not actually manifesting itself here. And the reason for that is that the resolution of our model is not high enough. We need even more polygons to realise that. So if I went in here and add another one, I'm regretting doing this already. I'm going to move that second subsurface up. Okay, what are we on? 32,000 polygons. It's going to have to be 1024 by 1024, whichever. That's about 1 million polygons or so. No, it's not 1 million polygons, it's 1 million faces, so it'll be 2 million polygons. Okay, well, let's just increase this slowly. Here we go. So now we've got a total of 6 subdivisions, then subdivided twice more. Here, this is starting to look more like the original image here now. If we put smooth shading turned on, open up the tool shelf, and I don't know why it wasn't responding to the T key there, but we'll turn smooth shading on and hide the tool shelf. Let's work then. You can see it's got a bit of patterning to it going on here, but it's getting there. We've almost got the same aliasing as here, and we're on 500,000, so I think one more subdivision, it may crash Blender. Okay, we're at 2 million triangles, so that's the right level of subdivision. So this now has lots and lots of polygons in it, and it matches up the resolution here. So that's near enough. Each face in our geometry is represented by a pixel. That way around. Okay. And obviously this is completely unusable. I'm at 2 million triangles for this tiny section of wall, so we have to bear that in mind. Great for small detail, perhaps if you wanted to apply this particular pattern around a sphere, you would end up with a very interesting pattern, and then you can bake that pattern back to a normal and apply it to a basic sphere again. And that's why, of course, in the last lecture we didn't have a challenge associated with it, because it would be inappropriate at this point to make your brickwork up in this manner. We will use this in a moment to generate a normal map which we can apply to the wall instead. However, of course, there is a challenge for this lecture. So when would you use a displacement map? What would you use a displacement map for? List a series of examples when it would be appropriate to use a displacement map. Give that some thought, grab a pen and paper or a notepad, or even a notes on your phone or wherever, and list out a series of examples when it would be appropriate to use that displacement map. Pause the video now and give that a go. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's have a look at a couple of examples where this might be appropriate to do. So we're going to be focusing on this important reality that these are not suited for things like generating a final brick wall. It's a very high poly count needed for that resolution match, and it just looks blocky without. Of course, this is an example from a human perspective. If you were shrunk down to the size of an ant, then you may have other problems, but then it may be appropriate, and of course you wouldn't need a brick wall quite as large as the one in this Gothic church that we're making. Now they are useful for applying detail, for example scales on a lizard or a fish or a dragon or something along those lines. Of course then they can be used in an intermittent stage in your modelling, so they're great for generating geometry and then optimising it for larger items. So for example, like terrain as well, you could build up, as mentioned before, a cityscape using a similar method and then move on from that point to generate further geometry. What other things would you use a displacement map for? If I haven't included something in here, share it in the discussions. It would be great to see your minds working and how you can use displacement maps. And I will see you guys in the next lecture.